Okay, Maker 100 course. If you got to the GitHub, go down to analog read, and there's the file. You can go look at it, or on the Arduino, you can just open it up in examples. If you've installed the Portenta Pro Community Solutions, and then it's in accessories, sensors, there we go, variable resistor sensor. Or you could just load it up there, click raw, copy it, and dump it into the Arduino. So it's right here. The only important part is between these two sets of stars, ground to any resistor to AO. Okay, so let's go ground to any resistor to AO. Now my Portenta here is flipped upside down, so ground is the fourth pin on this side. Oh, you know what? I should have it flipped like that. There we go. So ground is any pin, the fourth pin on this side. AO is the second pin on that side. So there we go. There's my resistor hooked up to ground and AO. And then my variable resistor, let's go back to the code. The variable resistor is connected to 3v3. Red wire is the third one down on this side. And it's also connected to AO on the other side. This can represent any two wires sensor, which basically means it's sensing heat, cold, light, flexibility, and in this case it's light, so when I cover it, it's going to be a higher or lower resistance, and when I open it up, it's going to be a higher or lower resistance. So the basic code, let's flash the code first. First of all, go down here, check you're on M7 and you're on COM299. Underneath, I double click, make sure it's flashing red. You can see my finger there is flashing red. So it's hooked up properly. You could double check the port. Oh, it wasn't hooked up properly. There we go. And we are on the Arduino board, the M7 core, which is the outer core that is the easiest to deal with. So we're flashing it. Let's talk about the code a little bit. Setup is simply doing this: serial begin 115200. The old Arduinos were 9600. I don't think it really matters that much. We don't have to set the analog resolution to 10 because that's the default, meaning it's going to give us numbers, digital numbers between 0 and 1023. So the main loop is just delaying 1000 microseconds, which means 1 second. It's going to print resolution 10, max 1023, just to remind you, analog read AO, and then it's going to do a string analog read AO. You don't have to do anything in the setup for this because that's the default situation for analog pins, is to be able to read them. Often you would put in here pin mode equals something. So we're just waiting for this to compile, so I'm going to pause. And there we go, it's flashing it, and here we go. There's nothing fancy with the lights or anything, but we want to check the port. So now we're going to whatever port it's on. It's Arduino Portenta H7, and there it goes. It's reading AO at 893. Now I have a 100 kilo ohm resistor here connected, and when I put my finger over that, it goes down to 100. So all we're doing here is noting that we're getting numbers. And as long as you're getting numbers, you can do stuff with it, because from a software point of view, you can manipulate those numbers to do things. Let me just see if I can get it up to a higher. There we go. It's maxing out at 1023. Great. Now you notice it's not really going down to 0. You're welcome to throw in a different resistor there if you really, really had to get it to 0. I'm just going to do that. And now your numbers are 0 when it's covered, but notice the max number is only 8, which that doesn't give you a huge range to kind of work with. So I prefer to do as big a range as possible and deal with it from a software point of view after that. Okay. Now sometimes you're going to get a potentiometer that has 3 wires, an in, and then whatever you're wanting as the maximum and your minimum. So that's pretty easy. Your in is just this, and your maximum would be your analog, and your ground is your minimum. Now either side of that could be. So there's my minimum at the moment. It's 31. I crank it right up to that. It's 1023. For some reason, if you wanted it to be the other way around, it's pretty simple to switcheroo, and now that should be 0, and that one should be 1023. So now you can move the numbers around. A variable resistor potentiometer is really useful for testing things out before you put your sensors. Anyway, that's the assignment. Yeah. Have fun.